say I'm a fool, but they never got the news that I'm a vile one. Oh yeah, I'm a vile one. You better turn it up, better keep the channel dialed, cause you're watching VileMike and his real wild child. Oh yeah, I'm a vile one. You better turn it up, better keep the channel dialed, cause you're watching VileMike and his real wild child.
Howdy, folks. It's VileMike here, and I just learned with Elihu not more than a minute ago that apparently there's intro and outro videos now available on StreamYards. So what should I add to the intro and outro videos other than the VileMike theme song and a countdown?
I can make one for
you. I'm not saying no to that, especially free work. But yeah, I've been wanting to do an actual countdown timer using clips from various TV shows, just saying the numbers. You know what I mean?
I know how to do that.
And how you doing, Jordan? But I just haven't had the time to collect all the clips. I started finding some Voyager clips, but that's because I was working on the those TikToks a while back, but I never kept on it. So
if you get different actors doing a number like 9, 8, that's not copyright infringement. YouTube can't ding you for that shit.
But if we were to do that, plus the VileMike theme song, plus I want to redo the theme song. Not like I like the theme song. I want to redo the video attachment for it, using newer clips of the memes that because I haven't used some of those memes in like 5 years now. What the hell are you doing?
I got a notification. You went live.
Oh. I think it's funny. I'm not even getting notifications that I'm going live anymore. Not even like after the stream.
That was you going live. That was a notification.
But we got somebody else, and he's on camera. So
hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Well,
that's not camera.
Well, it was camera. I just figured that made it easier for him to know it was me.
Yeah, that's all I figured about. I don't need him to stay on the camera. I mean, hell, my views go up every time he's not on camera.
I've seen that. It goes from 32 views to 34 views.
I was lurking in Loki's Mornings of Mischief. And he was talking about the gaming community. And I don't really keep up with a lot of what goes on there. But, some of that stuff that's been infecting it. And apparently it's getting into the manga that they have to do certain things a certain way to get a game or something licensed in America. And I'm just like, listen, when I make an avatar, the last thing it's like, gee, let me play a game. What do I want to play? Yeah, I'd love to play a 265-pound balding man with bum shoulders, a bad knee, type 2 diabetes, and high blood pressure. No, I think I'd rather play Batman, Spider-Man, Aloy, or, anything but myself.
You know what's funny, NB? When I play a game and it lets me create my character, I try to make the character be as much as like me as possible.
Short and fat.
Yeah. So my Fallout characters are usually tall, fat, bearded guys, usually bald or balding.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have fun. Okay, when I did Saints Row, I made my guy as black and as pimp as possible. because I wanted to be the guy with, the purple fedora and the purple robe and the cane and everything. I wanted to be a pimp. That was my goal with that character.
Well,
On
role playing
DC,
is entirely up to you. But as I said, whenever I play a game, I always, even Saints Row or like GTA San Andreas, where the character can be, is it of a different ethnicity, I still make the character as close to me as possible. Unless
on
that character is not meant to be changed, then I role play as that character, like more
On
like
DC
GTA 5.
On DC
Yeah,
Online, I have this very short, balding fat character in a Speedo.
Yeah, but I mean, it's called having fun. It's still escapism. Yeah, okay, you create characters close to you. Elihu, of course, does what Elihu does because he's a dandy. I swear, man, you are definitely a dandy.
I thought it was more like a lily or a rose.
Maybe you're a daisy.
Poppy.
I'm sorry, he's more of a cauliflower.
Yeah, full brains.
Well, at least he's not like broccoli. So,
Well, I'm sorry, if I'm a flower, I'm definitely an artichoke.
if I'm a flower, I'm a cactus, even if that's not a flower. But I'm not a botanist.
I'm a cannabis.
Well, that's true.
Hey, that's the only flower that matters. So
what exactly are they? What exactly are they complaining about video games? Because I'm a gamer, I sell them.
Oh, I don't know. It's not so much the gaming. What I was talking about with the skins and everything. I totally don't care about those things. It really doesn't bother me. But it was the way the guy was saying, I guess he's like a top of the line Japanese designer. And apparently they mistranslated him in a few ways. And the woke went after him. And it's kind of like, do you really want to go after one of the top guys in Japanese video games? They're not Americans. Okay, and they're definitely not Californians. They're not going to tolerate that shit. What they're saying is it makes it difficult.
I still don't know what you're talking about. So, I mean, what were they complaining about?
He said He said he got misquoted with his translation.
Well, one of the things they were saying
what was the misquote? What was the misquote, and what was the translation? Because I'm completely in the dark here, despite everything.
Something about, he said Puritan, and they translated it as sex educator. And the thing he was doing was just saying it's difficult to market a game in America because there's basically a lot of red tape. He says we can't put male, female. We have to put type 1, type 2 for these things. There's just certain things they've got. Okay. If they want to put something out in America. That's all he was talking about.
I can tell you right now, that's not true.
All I'm saying is he was making a comment. I don't know how true it is. I'm not in the gaming business, so I don't know anything about it. It's just, I wonder what, it's just people lose their minds over the littlest things.
America has different censorship. For instance, for manga, with American, it's blood is not red; it's white.
Yeah,
censorship.
I do know that.
Well,
but yeah, when it comes to outside media, the United States has always censored things. I mean, one of the things I've always wondered is like, what would have happened to the Zelda franchise? Because I'm literally playing a Zelda game right now. If it wasn't for censorship, well, hold on. If it wasn't for censorship in Zelda games, because American censorship, because in Zelda 2, if you don't know that, one of the items you were supposed to obtain was something called the Bible. And if you know anything, if you look at the early Zelda artwork, Link, his shield has a Christian cross on it. The graveyard is nothing but Christian crosses, all that kind of stuff.
I remember that.
But because of, you know, the satanic panic and stuff like that, any references to Christianity were mostly removed from the Zelda franchise. And that literally is one of the reasons why Shigeru Miyamoto, when he was doing Zelda Ocarina of Time and Zelda A Link to the Past and stuff, he actually created an internal religion to the video game franchise that is completely different from Christianity and removed almost everything related to any Christian themes. And later on, like Ocarina of Time, they introduced a desert dwelling race called the Gerudo. That's where the main villain comes from. And they had some Islamic religion stuff related to that. They also had to end up removing that as well in later editions. So,
I mean,
so censorship has been a thing in at least gaming for a very long time.
Well, I've heard about what happened with, the game that came out that was Stellar Blade. I haven't played it, but I bought it for my son because my son likes playing the character Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. Well, that's good to know. But I saw him playing Aloy the other day, and I was like, where are you at with Aloy here? I'm like, what is this weapon you're carrying? And he's like, oh, it's I'm playing Fortnite. So he bought the skin for
Is it just me, or is MB roboting?
Am I?
It's
you are for me, but okay, so it's
you.
just me because Elihu's. I'm gonna reset, see what happens.
Okay.
And how you doing, Danny?
Hey, Dandelion. Elihu, you can't.
Sorry, I was trying to smoke. Sorry. Wake and bake, man.
Okay, man. You know I can't be the only one talking.
I know, but I was trying to wake and bake, okay?
Yeah, but if I'm the only one talking, the stream will go to hell.
Now, that is true.
So I was trying to say I was spoiling for a fight. I've actually been spoiling for a fight for a while, and I actually got into one with a guy at the gas station. We have. Hey, Mike, am I any better?
All right, I'm back.
All right, Mike, how am I sounding now?
Everyone sounds fine now, or at least you do. I mean, Elihu hasn't said anything yet. But I got a new phone, but it's literally the same make and model as my old phone, and I'm having issues trying to transfer everything over.
I hate phones. I as an IT guy, I just see. I'm becoming old.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Text messages. Sorry.
Okay. So,
but basically, because they're both the same model of phone, like some of the apps I'm trying to put on the new phone, when I activate them, they're like, "Oh, this is already activated on another phone," and I'm like, "Yes,"
yeah.
but it's and I'm like, "But it's the same." All I did was switch over the freaking SIM card, but it keeps telling me, unable to activate or unable to do. And I'm just confused as if it's because it's the same exact phone.
Is it an iPhone or a Droid?
Android.
Okay, I haven't had an Android in a long time now. I know about the changing of the SIM card thing. I know that's a standard tactic I'm very well aware of. Did it with iPhones and I did it with Androids. That's weird. It's still saying it's activated to that.
Yeah, it's saying that it's like, because everything's tied to your phone number.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
when it says retype in your phone number, I type in my phone number and it says your phone number. This phone number is already in use, and it's like, yes, but it's the same account.
That's weird.
And when I try to log in any other way, it's saying unable to log in or invalid identification or something along those lines. And again, I'm just wondering if it's because it's the same phone named the same thing.
No, I wouldn't think so. The SIM card should have activated with it. Okay. The way normally, the old way it worked was you had your IPs and they were connected hardline to your MAC address. The MAC address is the hard thing in your computer. You could actually find it if you take time. Actually, if you know how to do command prompt, you can find it. So I don't know, bud. That's a weird one. That's a strange one.
Mrs. Vile has the idea that I should erase it off the old phone, but I haven't done that yet, only because I want to save, like, I have pictures from Mrs. Vile, the kids, that I want to save first. And
Android doesn't have an automatic upload to the cloud.
It does, but it required me to scan. It was weird. It required me to scan a QR code provided by the new phone with the old phone, but the old phone is no longer activated because I switched the SIM card.
This is why I hate
so it's like, how am I supposed to act? You know, if it doesn't have the internet, then it's like, oh, connect it to Wi-Fi. So I turned on the Wi-Fi on the new phone. And it's not working because it says it's the same IP address because it's my new phone acting as the internet for the old phone.
That doesn't make any sense. Wait a minute.
Did you get Mint Mobile?
Oh, wait.
No, people are having a hard time with Mint Mobile switching numbers like that, man.
Troubleshoot here. How do you run your internet?
When I'm at the house, I'm using the house's Wi-Fi. When I'm out and about, I'm using my phone's internet.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense because you should have a static IP address. Now, here's the thing. This is what I was talking about with the IP and the MAC addresses. Every freaking computer in this house, everything that connects to the internet, it all runs through the same IP. The only way you can tell the difference between what's what is the MAC address. That's why you have to have the MAC address, because that's the physical hard line. So go somewhere Wi-Fi.
I probably need to do that. And of course, now there's a car alarm going off. Great. Hold on.
Why do they even make car alarms anymore?
Yeah, nobody pays attention to them anymore. Like, what's the point?
Nobody ever pays attention to them unless they think it's theirs, and then they normally think it's just push the fucking button and be done with it.
Yeah, nobody cares about car alarms anymore. It's a big deal. It's like, okay, annoying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think if somebody hears a car alarm going off, most of the time they don't even look that direction. I don't.
First thought to my head is like, oh, turn that thing off. I don't go, oh, who's waking up to a car? No.
I'm just
even my van has a car alarm, and it's 90% of the time it goes off. It's because I did something stupid and it made it go off.
Yeah, it's like with my van. It's like with my Jeep when I've accidentally made the car alarm go off, and I'm like trying to turn it off, and I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'm like, you're useless.
It's like you want to know a security feature that I actually kind of like if someone's trying to steal my car. If someone keeps pulling on the door handle, trying to open the door when it's locked, if they do it like a whole bunch of times, and I don't know what the threshold is, it actually has a cutoff where the computer will turn off the ignition, so it won't work anymore. You can't even if you use the key at that point, it won't start the car. You actually have to disconnect the battery and reconnect the battery to reset the computer.
Yeah, that is a nice safety function.
So it makes
those, what was that? That car thing, that car jack, that thing that they you put on the steering wheel. And it was
low jack.
Yeah,
the club.
The club.
Yeah, the club. That thing that you'd always see, that movie with Nicolas Cage, they even made a joke about it. They said, here's what I learned at the car stealing retirement. And he took off one of those.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gone in 60. I love that movie. I love that movie. He's like, it's Eleanor.
What race
that
movie was
movie is
that?
one of the ones where I joke that I cry at because, I've seen sad movies, I've seen happy movies, but there's nothing compares to throwing that car in the car crusher.
Oh,
You want to make a man cry, you put that car in the car crusher.
it's just a crime against humanity.
Just a car.
And I like dandelions. I drive a stick shift to reduce the chance of theft. Yeah, but even finding a decent vehicle nowadays that's a manual transmission is harder and harder to do.
Oh God, man, I would kill for my Jeep to be manual. I mean, nowadays manual is that push manual where you click the button. I'm like, no, I need a clutch. I need 3 on the tree. God damn it.
Dude, Gen X does not know how to drive a clutch like they don't know how to use an analog clock, okay? It's an out of use practice.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I've actually seen that, Eli, that you brought that up. That generations now don't know how to read an analog clock.
They made fun of that in Agatha with the teen had to turn. It's like turn counterclockwise. He's like, she's like, you're left. I'm like, yep, that's millennials for you.
I'm like, how do you know?
Hold on. The reason I don't care about that as much, and I know, MB, you want to do a rant on this. Let me put it this way. I don't know how to shoe a horse.
I do.
I also don't know how to repair a wagon wheel.
I do.
I don't know how to ford a river. I don't know how to do a lot of things that don't matter anymore because that technology is so old it's been replaced.
Envelope stuffer.
It's a clock. How can you know? It's like people not knowing how to read cursive. No, it may be out of practice, but it still should be basic things you know. My kids know how to write and read in cursive.
Yeah, and so do mine. Even my youngest knows how to read in cursive. It's not a hard thing, but they also don't practice writing in it because it's not something they use all the time.
Well, actually, my son finds writing in cursive very therapeutic because he's left-handed and he finds writing in cursive is easier than writing in print.
Well, let me put it this way. NB, when was the last time you chiseled cuneiform?
I'm not talking about chiseling stuff.
Exactly, though. It's not something you do because it's not something that is required of you anymore.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the basic thing of being able to read a clock. Okay.
It's like going to the library. You don't need to because you have the internet.
Yeah. I guarantee you there was an NB Greco-Roman who was complaining about these newfangled ink paper people instead of using stone tablets. Ink and paper, that's not going to last. Now, if we put it on a tablet, it'll last forever.
Yeah, the internet's just a fad.
No, actually,
there's always going to be people complaining. There's always going to be the older generation complaining about the newer generation because when things change, they don't like things. They don't like anymore.
No, that's not necessarily true. It's not that I don't mind it. A lot of things I understand. Yeah, that's exactly right. Nanny Line Fluff, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
What'd she say? Oh, papyrus.
Yeah. Paper actually came around, I think the whole thing with paper was because papyrus became very rare and, well, you know how it is with people, innovation. And that's why
I can't remember who wrote it, and since I'm using the phone, I can't look it up. But I remember there was an actual book, or at least a pamphlet or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a guy complaining about the proliferation of books due to the Gutenberg press, and he was saying that people don't have time to be reading books all the time. It's a useless invention. Books should be handwritten one at a time for people who actually need to learn that stuff. Not and the general public and the poor don't need access to books.
Okay, that's kind of a stupid idiot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's you say that because
I believe
the culture you grew up with.
Because I believe
books.
in education. I believe in the printed word. I mean, you learn more.
Okay.
No,
but do you think in like say classrooms today, children should be learning how to carve into tablets, then how to write calligraphy on papyrus, then learning how to set typeface on
you're just going too far.
I'm not. I'm going hyperbolic. I guess I'm going too far because I'm going hyperbolic.
Mike, this is a fallacy you're doing. This is a whataboutism. I was talking about cursive and a clock. You're going all the way back to an old day.
No, I'm comparing it to an older thing by being hyperbolic. It is not a fallacy.
Yes, being hyperbolic is. You're being okay,
no, it isn't.
Well, you are using hyperbolic and you are using fallacy.
I was not okay. What fallacy was I using?
Mike, it's not that I know you're not smart. I know how damn smart you are. I've never questioned, damn well I don't question your intelligence.
But I'm just saying, there is a point where we can't teach everything to our kids because our knowledge base has become so wide. We stand on the shoulders of giants so we can reach the sky.
No, and I'm not disagreeing. Look, okay, let's take what we all know. We all know how to read a clock. We all know how to write in cursive. We can still do those basic things, but we all also have specialties. Elihu, we know, is the science guy. Me, we know I'm the history civics guy, similar to you, Mike. But we know.
Idiot.
Well, I'm the jack of all trades, master of none, but better than the master of one.
No, you have some things that no, I would disagree with that. You have some things that you have expertise in.
Yeah, but I as I said, I like the idea of being a jack of all trades. I know a lot about a little, or I know a little about a lot.
I figured, well, my wife told me I had to find a hobby, so I just focused on geek, politics, civics, and history. My favorite passions in the world.
Geez, stamp collecting was not an option? Wow.
Well, at least I get to hang around with intellectual people, even when we don't always disagree. Even when we disagree. Now, at least we're not bitching and yelling at each other.
And B, just because somebody uses big words does not mean they're an intellect.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Yes.
Considering you also use the word intellect incorrectly.
I know. That was the point.
And if there was one thing I've always sucked at, and I've always been honest about this, and it's funny because I wrote technical papers and training manuals and stuff, but guys, I suck at spelling. My whole life I've sucked at spelling. I mean, if it wasn't for spell check, a lot of times I'd be fucked.
Okay, go to the actual print dictionary and look at the word phonetic.
I would also say you need to learn how to use spell check correctly because our little back and forth on Twitter this week, half the time I could not understand a damn thing the point you were trying to get across. Because
Twitter has terrible spell check. I have to go to like other sites to get better spell check because Twitter just has shitty spell check. I'm like, I should just audio this and send it to him. It would make a lot more sense.
That's why you do the voices sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, I know. Well, it also comes to the fact my hands shake now. So I used to be able to type really well. It was actually a time I could type 120 words a minute. But now that my hands shake a little bit and
That's it? 120? I used to be able to type 170 words an hour. A. Was the F? There's the F. Was the G? There's a G.
I took typing in school. It was all muscle memory. It was all muscle memory. No,
okay.
I typed one.
Since you brought that up, I got to tell a funny story about my typing class back in high school.
All right, I got a Geloja real quick.
Okay, so like NB, I had a class where it was devoted entirely on how to learn how to type on a keyboard. Now, the teacher of the class was not computer savvy, but they were used to an old typewriter. That's where they learned how to type. Whereas I had learned how to type on a old computer, so I knew keyboard commands.
Commodore
so when
64s.
we were told because we were told to type out a sentence like 20, 30 times, whereas I would just type it once, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V.
Control V.
And even the software that used to count how fast you could type wasn't counting the keystrokes. It was counting how many words appeared on every time you hit spacebar. And when you hit Control V, the spacebar appears the spacebar is essentially hit a bunch of times. So my word count was like 2,000 words a minute or typing. And the teacher thought I was a freaking savant when I was just using a cheat. And that's how I look at when it comes to kids today. Yeah, they like Daniel is saying, that type of knowledge is not necessarily needed today because I don't need to learn how to type on a typewriter. I type on a computer. It's a different format, similar but different enough that I don't need to have all the same skills involved.
And nowadays, kids don't have to worry about learning how to type. They look something up. They got to go, hey, Siri, or hey, Google, look this up for me. You don't have to worry about typing anymore.
Sounds so when I took my typing class, we were using word processors, Mike. We didn't have computers. Control V was not an option for us.
Commodore 64 was the highlighted technology in my school computers.
I remember when I was in school when we had back in the 80s, there were a couple times there was this one computer class we took where basically it was a computer lemonade stand. And then, of course, the Oregon Trail, which
Yeah.
Which
how many times you died of dysentery?
I'm going to be honest, I only recently beat the Oregon Trail about a year ago when I pulled it up because I was like, I want to see if I can survive this. Now, I don't know why. I think we were talking about it on a stream or something, and I was just like, I want to beat this fucking thing. And I did. I was like, wow, I guess experience does matter. But there was also this, but I remember the Apple computers and the monitors before the days of screensavers. Sorry. Trying to remember the right word because, the CRTs, they would, if you left it on too long, you'd have images. You know what I'm talking about, Eli.
Oh, damn green monitor. Oh, my gosh.
And B, it actually is still the same on phones. And I can, one of Caddy's old phones, she had spent so much time on TikTok that the little icons at the bottom and top of the screen for TikTok were permanently burned into her screen.
No way, man.
TikTok wallpaper, nice.
I just remember all those green screens, and it was like we were
monochrome.
And what was it, Eli?
The monochrome screens.
Yeah, and I just remember these green, and I'd come into class, and there'd be like, you can look at these CRTs and see we all play Laser Maze. It was like our favorite game to play on those screens. And they were burned and Laser Maze was like burned into all of them. You could see it even when the screen was off.
I had to convince my mother for several months to get a VGA monitor so that wouldn't happen anymore. She's like, "Oh no, that's going to be a fad. We don't need that. Don't worry about that. You don't need to spend an extra $200 on a color monitor. Yeah, $200 extra, okay, on a monitor. Yeah, that's how much it was."
And I remember, okay, when I was in junior high, the school got new computers, but like 99% of our teachers didn't know how to use a modern computer because they were all stuck with the Apple IIs back in the day. They thought that was the height of technology. And I remember literally being not paid. I was asked by the school and a couple other students were to install grading software onto a bunch of the teachers' computers because they couldn't do it. What I also ended up doing is installing Duke Nukem 2 to every school computer that I worked on.
Did you run it through the intranet? Yes.
No, they did. This is before the intranet, but we did have the internet, but only on 8 iMacs that were donated to the computer lab in the library. Those are the only 8 computers that had the internet.
No, not the internet, the intranet.
The internal building communication.
There was no intranet for this school. The school was too poor.
Then how did they get internet? I mean, so for example,
as I said, the only internet was on the 8 iMacs in the library. All the other computers were not. There was no connection software for the computers in the classrooms. So that I literally we were given copies of the grading software was actually on 5.5-inch floppies. Okay,
wow.
And the computers were basically 286s. So what I had to do was manually connect a 5.5-inch floppy drive to the computer to download the grading software onto the new computers.
Yeah, and how big was the grading software? What was it?
It was 6 or 7 5.5-inch floppies.
Oh my Lord! So it was a big flop back in the day.
Yeah, but because they assumed that because the old Apples took like hours to download, 5 or 6, 7 5.5-inch floppies, they assumed each time I had to go to someone's computer, it would take several hours. But no, these newer computers, these 286s, were fast enough that it only took me like 30 minutes. That's why.
But dude, those computers still took 3 hours to download one song.
Yes,
but
that was back. Hey, remember how long it took when we got the internet to just download a picture?
17 hours, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm just saying is that's why, because I had what I'm saying is because I had the extra time and I had it on me. That's why I was downloading or installing Duke Nukem 2 to all the computers.
So what we did in the IT department back when I was in the Marine Corps is we had, I don't know, maybe a dozen computers at the time in our radio shop, in the radio area, or my comm department, sorry. And we basically had a star topology system through our intranet. And we put Unreal Tournament on all the computers. And we would all, like, when leadership would go somewhere, dude, man, we'd link all the computers up and we're just sitting there killing each other, yelling at each other across the freaking comm bay. Be like, you motherfucker! Who the fuck sniped me? And somebody goes, I did, bitch. Welcome to Ryer. Something like that, man. And I mean, oh my God, we would do that for hours. I mean,
my son loves Roblox and he loves playing with his friends on that, that game. Trying to explain to him that when I wanted to play with a bunch of my friends, we would go to someone's house
yep,
and manually connect 10, 12 PlayStation 2s together, all connected to a single server so we could play multiplayer online games. Well, close to be online games.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually it was like 8-on-8, and then we'd play another game for the other for the winners of those ones.
Yep, I remember those days. Dude,
So it's like, yeah, if we wanted to play Madden, we would be doing, that's how we would do it. And trying to explain that to him, that we would actually take our console over there. And he's like, well, you mean like the Switch? I was like, no, this is like, an actual console, controllers, power cables. Everyone had their own TV. So you had to bring your own TV with you.
Literally, we were daisy chaining.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were literally daisy chaining when we'd have to do that stuff, but that was the only way you could do it. I mean, it wasn't like there was a central server that you could all connect to back in the day.
Well, any of our friends that had a server, that's whose house we went to.
Well, you know what I meant. You know what I'm talking about, a central server area, like a server farm where all that shit is. No, somebody had to have a server to do all that. And yeah.
Oh, Dandelion, it would. Pardon me. Damn it. It would take us, I don't know, 6 hours to set everything up just so we could play Madden.
It would take a while to do those kind of things. I remember the Navy guy, the Navy corpsman, since you brought up Madden. I kid you not, when we were out at doing those 2 months in 29 Palms, the sailors had their own building, and they had a little more freedom than we did. So they brought a few PlayStations, and they were playing Madden, and dude, you'd have a bunch of us over there just like watching these people play games and be like we were at a sports bar. It's like somebody would make a beer run at the cantina, and then we just come back and watch the game. All because it was something to do.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing. My kids don't need to learn how to set up a LAN party anymore because everything's online.
I understand that, but you still should be able to read an analog clock. I mean, come on. It's not difficult. I understand cursive is going the way of the dinosaurs. I can understand that. But being able to read an analog clock should not be that difficult.
Okay, and do you know how to read all types of sundials?
I don't have a sundial, but analog clocks, I still...
Do you know how to read a sundial?
Yes, I know how to read a sundial.
Are you sure?
Well, I did a long time ago when I actually had one. It was actually
survival training?
No,
Did you do that during survival training, man?
Who, since you brought that up, actually an interesting experience to go out there and monitor the times of where the sundial was. Actually, I still am able to use some of that, because like I'll wake up, and if I see the sun coming up at a certain level, I generally have the time of the day down to about 10 minutes.
I got an internal clock for that.
Well, Elihu, can you show NB, because I can't look it up right now, the digital sundial?
There's a digital sundial?
Digital sundial. Oh, yeah. Hang on a second.
I guess that would be something, wouldn't it?
Digital sundial.
Is it like a hologram?
No. Look.
But I think you'll find it funny as all hell.
I think I think a hologram sundial would be a nice exhibit.
Oh, okay. I was looking for a picture. Can you show a picture? And I'll share it.
There you go. That last link's a picture.
I mean, put it in the freaking
Share
to
it.
StreamYard.
I can't.
Why?
I'm on my phone.
God,
I didn't know.
am I the only one
Okay.
not on the phone?
Dude, Xfinity came by. They looked at my equipment. They looked at the room, and they said, "It's not us. It's the building has to fix the wire. Otherwise, you're going to have sporadic internet." So Monday, I went to the property manager. He wasn't there. He hasn't been there all week. So
okay,
I'm still fucked up with the internet.
basically, a digital sundial is
There,
when the sunlight is passing through it. It shows a digital format.
I'm going to try something real fast. Hang on a second.
That I don't think that's exactly what I'm looking for. It was basically the way this thing was designed.
That's what Elihu sent me in the link.
Okay. No, this is it's a static thing, and as the shadow passes through a bunch of these little poles and stuff, the shadow forms a digital type display. So as the sun moves, right now on my phone it says it's 8:47. As the sun moves, the shadow would slowly change to 8:47, 8:48, 8:49 as the day goes along.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about now. Hang on a second.
Okay. But
see if I can do this.
I think Darren understands. Kids need to know how to read an analog clock and tie shoes with shoelaces and use electric stove and drive stick and get up and walk over to the TV and change the channel.
Oh, you mean the old days, huh? I'm gonna be honest. I kind of got lazy in my old age. I've got a pair of slip-on shoes. I mean, I have a pair of tie shoes, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't tie my shoes much anymore. I'll have it at a certain point and I'll just slip it on. I don't untie.
Yeah.
I just haven't for so long. I don't know. Maybe it was because all the times I had unlaced my boots. I'm just kind of like, when I had my shoes, I was like,
here you go, Mike. Public chat.
Uncomfortable.
Public chat. That's what you're looking for.
All right. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I know, Dandelion. But it's basically when I was asking him if he could read a sundial, that was the joke I was going to try to make.
Did you click on the link, NB?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay,
Give me a
Mike.
second. There you go. Looks like a fucking dildo.
There we go. Yeah. That's a little bit different than the one I originally saw, but yeah, that's the same premise.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it says dot matrix style.
Yeah, it's a callback to Joan Rivers, okay?
Yeah. Oh, come on. Can we talk about it?
What?
They're making a part 2?
No, that was Joan Rivers' signature line. Remember? Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It does look like
it's funny. You know what's funny, NB, is the first thought I had when I looked at the picture is it looks like a microphone. So we know where your mind is at.
Wow.
My mind's always. What are you talking about? You guys have known me for what, 4 or 5 years now? When is my mind not in the gutter?
When you're asleep. Oh wait, never mind.
No, trust me, my mind gets more in the gutter even there. Mom, why are you trying?
The whole point I'm making is if it's not that type of sundial, NB, you're not going to be able to necessarily tell what time it is. And you were probably never taught that, and it's because it's not something you need to go through every day. I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather told me that he needed to teach me how to do all the sailor's knot, the hitch knot, all that kind of stuff, because of how important it is to know that you'll use it every day of your life. and now I use it maybe twice a year.
Remember, kids, you need to know math. You're not going to have a calculator everywhere you go.
I'm not talking about knots. I'm just talking about reading a freaking analog phone.
But it's all this. You mean analog clock? And
yeah,
yes,
that's all I'm saying is, okay, one of the most confusing things that I hated in the military was the 24-hour analog clock. It drove me nuts. Because I'm just, okay, maybe I'm just sitting, Mike, I'll be the first one to admit, okay, I'm older now. I'm the older generation. I'm set in my ways. Why can't I bitch at the older generation? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Isn't that the benefit of us getting older?
Old man yells at cloud.
I was at a party with Mrs. Viles. I may have talked about this already, and we were talking because her friend had gone fishing and caught some fish, and that's what we were cooking and eating. And I was telling them about going hunting with my family and how we would skin rabbits and stuff, and none of them know how to skin a rabbit because none of them had to learn that skill. Most of them don't even eat rabbit. Even if they eat chicken, it's not like they know how to pluck and kill a chicken.
Well, I didn't get that.
I've done that as a kid.
Well, I didn't get that education either. I didn't learn how to skin and eat a rabbit until I was in the Marine Corps. But my family was mostly steel workers and construction workers. I mean, that's just when I look at the genealogy of my family, the different genealogies we have, it's pretty much we went to Kentucky, Illinois, and Tennessee, and pretty much worked the steel in the factories. There wasn't a lot of hunting. In fact, I don't even think my grandfather ever hunted. I mean, he had rifles, but I think they were from his dad. And I mean, he never hunted. My dad never hunted. My dad went out fishing. They were
my grandfather was a farmer, and that's why he was so when he was teaching us how to do the knots. And I'm pretty sure I've forgotten how to do half the knots I learned. But for him as a farmer in Texas, he used knots all the friggin' time. I mean, he literally was riding his horse every day. So the hitch knot was something he used every single day. Tying down hay bales in his truck, he would use the knots for that. Leading a cow, leading animals. It was so knots. He was really adamant about teaching us all how to do that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to teach that to my kids because they don't use knots.
I think what Dandelion says here at the bottom, yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a valid point. I would not disagree with that. I do think cursive though is I mean, I understand it's going from a basic skill to more of a specialty. I just find the clock thing a little weird. I mean, I understand the cursive part and I get where you're going with what you've been saying, Mike. It's just the clock thing's a little weird for me. I'm just like, something so basic like that is strange to me. But maybe it's because I'm just set in my ways and I don't understand how people can't read it. Oh
no, my kids know how to read it, but they may not be able to write it. Then the reason they know how to write it, or the reason they know how to read it, is because there's literal fonts that are pre-programmed to write in cursive.
The reason why my kids know how to do it is we bought them books for it. And like I said, my son has found he loves writing in cursive because being left-handed, he finds it easier than writing in print. Now, I'm not a southpaw. No, I'm going to take his word for it.
I don't know. For me, if I was left-handed, writing in cursive would make it even harder because I'd be smudging it with my left hand as I wrote.
No, surprisingly enough, one of the things he had with his left hand, being left-handed, being a southpaw, was he'd write his prints very close together. And he finds doing cursive more therapeutic because it makes it easier for him to read it, and it makes him easier to write it because he's learning, because the letters are connected, he's learning better the spacing. So it's just, a skill that's working for him.
What the hell are you posting, Envy or Elihu?
Sort of
Nothing
say,
told to me. Just a little notification to the newest storm.
Yeah, I heard about that. Oh God, like they didn't get fucked in. Dude, I know people who live. Okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna make it very clear, Elihu, FEMA, and the government are lying.
Okay, it was 56 minutes, 22 seconds before he brought it up, Elihu.
Okay.
Envy, we literally talked about this before the stream. Elihu asked, how long is it going to take before NB starts talking about FEMA on the stream?
I posted that because LDG. I posted that information because LDG watches. I'm like, hey, he's in Florida, man. I'm like, come on, dude, be careful. Everybody who knows other people in Florida, let them be careful. Come on, I'm just general notice. I didn't know he was going to talk about it.
Oh, come on. My mother lives in Jacksonville. Most of my Marine brothers live in North and South Carolina. I mean, that's where we all met. And then I saw what happened, Chimney, God, what that flash flooding. When I saw Asheville flooded like it was, I was like, holy shit. Because I used to drive through there and have been there. And that's where you go before you get into the mountains to head over to Tennessee. And I mean, for that place to be as flooded as it was, they must, and as bad as it was, I'm like, all that water just must have washed down there. And I'm still trying to figure out how.
NB, I want to tell you a story. And I'm going to paraphrase this because I'm going to get it, probably some of it wrong because I don't know all the specifics because it's been a while since I read the story. There was a guy in Japan, mayor of a small town. All right. And when he became mayor, he insisted that this small town of like 3,000 people spend millions of dollars of their budget building a giant seawall to protect their harbor. Okay.
Okay.
And the town did not really have the money to do that. He put them in debt trying to do it, but he was like, this is going to be important. We're going to need this. And he was hated. He was vilified. People were pissed off. And he died, and people were desecrating his grave because they were so mad at him. Now, a few years after he died, there was a tsunami. Mm-hmm. And it wiped out nearly every town on that seaboard except theirs.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, because they had this giant concrete reinforced seawall as opposed to just a small levee.
Well, that was one of the.
And now people go to his grave to, now his grave has been taken care of. It's they literally still leave gifts for him on his gravestone now because of that.
Yeah. Why does it sound like chipmunks in the background?
Because I'm over by the storage unit and we have a parrot problem.
Oh, okay. Sounds like chipmunks. Sorry. I'm like,
yes.
What the hell is that?
How do you have a parrot problem?
We don't know exactly why, but certain areas of San Diego have become home to parrots.
Oh, like Telegraph Hill, Nob Hill, the famous Telegraph Hill parrots here. Okay.
There's a whole bunch here in Lakeside too, and we don't know exactly where they came from. There's a bunch of theories ranging from, escaped parrots from the San Diego Zoo, a bunch of, illegal pet trade bringing them up. or global warming bringing them further north from their natural habitats, which are further down in Mexico.
So one of my buddies, I think you guys saw the pictures. One of my Marine buddies, Eric, he sent me some pictures of the tree that busted over, and I was like, well, thank God it missed your fucking lawnmower. Yeah, I mean, most of my buddies, they from the Marine Corps, they all stayed on the coast. I was on the coast my entire time in the military, and then, of course, as you guys know, I moved to Indiana almost 5 years ago, where I wanted to be in the Midwest. Because, dude, I don't miss that shit. I don't miss the hurricanes. I don't miss the typhoons. I don't miss the coast. I don't even like the fucking beach.
I do.
I prefer lakes and rivers.
NB, the reason, though, why I was bringing up that story about Japan was when you were complaining about FEMA, how much money of the federal budget goes into FEMA, and how much has it been cut in the last 15 years?
I would have to ask my buddy Damon about that, who works with FEMA.
Look into it, because FEMA their budget has not been increased. In fact, I think it's been reduced over the last 15 years, despite inflation and everything.
No,
They can't keep up with the amount of natural disasters.
It was cut about 12% 5 years ago.
So yeah,
I'm flat out. Look, I mean, we can play the political game on who's at.
I'm not saying the politics involved, but I'm just saying we're not putting money into the infrastructure to deal with this kind of stuff, both on the emergency level and before the fact.
No, I agree. We are doing a very bad job of being proactive. We've had this problem with disaster relief for a long time. We're always reactive. And one of the things I found out about FEMA is, and this is something I didn't know, the governor has to declare a state of emergency before they can get FEMA resources. And I'm seeing videos, and my buddy Damon is telling me flat out, people are getting beat up and shit's happening because the resources just aren't available. And
actually, the resources are available. They're having a hard time getting to people.
Of course, they're having a hard time getting to people.
It's not like FEMA has a fleet of helicopters to deliver supplies everywhere.
Okay, why don't you do like the Berlin droppings?
Okay, that's a big mistake. Let me tell you what happened in 2005, September 2nd, 2005. FEMA decided to help people by giving us water. The city was grateful. We had very little water to drink. The stores are dry. They came over to Coliseum. They dropped it about 50 feet from the air, and 90% of it was destroyed. Then 2 days later, they did it again. 2 days later, they did it again.
Yeah,
most of it destroyed. See, they don't do airdrops anymore. They're not going to set it on the ground. They're not going to do it anymore because of what happened to Katrina. They're not going to gently set it on the ground because of people's safety.
Yeah, and you're saying, I know you're saying airdrops, but as I said, FEMA does not have an air force.
No,
they have a couple of jets for emergency purposes, but those things need a place to land. They can't just airlift. They can't go house to house with helicopters dropping off supplies.
Yeah, you can. It's called the Air National Guard.
No, they can't. I'll give you an example. One person did a suggestion to one of the guys I follow on TikTok. He was asking, why can't the Army use their pontoon bridges to put up temporary bridges to help people evacuate? Okay. The reasons they can't do that is because they need military personnel to be on both sides of the bridges. People have to go at a certain speed. It is incredibly dangerous for anyone not trained to drive over these bridges to drive. So let civilians do it would invite disaster.
That's why you
and hang on a bit. And people always ask, how come they just can't go wading in the water? Well, number one, the water's toxic with all the chemicals and the back sewage and all the other shit there. National Guard told me during Katrina, we were given orders. If our toes get wet, we're out for the day and we have to get shots. They are not allowed to get their toes wet.
Yes, I know that. My buddy who was at Katrina told me that firsthand. He's going to Texas to get his processing orders for his unit. And
Hola, Mrs. Cardenas.
Hola, Mrs. Cardenas.
Howdy, babe.
And he is waiting for his orders for his unit to where he's going to go in the processing. He says the red tape is just the biggest problem. He told me about what happened with Katrina. He's told me about what happened with Maui. He's told me some horror stories that I can't believe. And they're all coming from the fact that the bureaucracy is fucking everything up.
But I have to tell you that some of that bureaucracy is there for reasons.
Okay, Mike, I'm not saying that.
As I said, well, hold on. Like I said, with the using the Army pontoon bridges, the reason the bureaucracy doesn't allow them to do that is actually important, because the few times that they've tried to do something along those lines, it has led to disaster.
That's called logistics. That's called learning.
But
what we do is we learn to make alternatives. I'm sorry. This is how we work. As Marines, we improvise. We figure out a way. That's my mentality. That's why my buddy who works at FEMA, because, dude, I've known this guy for 25 years. Dude is smart as a whip and dedicated like all hell. And
a smart Marine? Wow.
My buddy,
he eats nothing but the blue crayons.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Now, his name was actually Damon Beatles. And he was the guy who went and processed me and was basically the guy who taught me almost everything I knew. And smart as a whip, knew his comm skills. One of the smartest guys I ever knew. Trust me, this guy's dedicated and he has attention to detail in ways that even I still, after 25 years, are still trying to understand. So I'm going to take the word of the guy who I've known for 25 years, who's on those front lines, who I'd walk through fire and naked through broken glass for, other than Biden Mayorkas. And I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. And I'm going to tell you that when it comes to these natural disasters, we aren't planning ahead because the money is not there. We're not. And so it's like, I don't know how else to explain the reason that these things aren't taken care of, because we can't just do quick fixes during a disaster all the time.
Yeah, we can.
No, we can't.
Yes, we can. I built an entire. Okay, no, I built an entire program for disaster relief for our unit, our entire group unit. I actually got an award for best practice because I went over every logical thing that could happen to our base in California. What could happen? So I was like. I was the guy who actually, we were supposed to make it for each unit, and I was with everybody who was making it from 9 to 13. I was 48th. My buddy Brian was the 548th, and I just one day said, "Why are we making 4 different disaster relief programs? Why don't we just make an overall one? And if we need to make adjustments, we make supplements."
Do you call wildfires disasters or not?
Of course I put wildfires in there. What do you think? I'm crazy?
Okay, then how come we had a hard time getting relief from the wildfires here in 2017?
I didn't work for FEMA.
You said we can instantly handle the disasters. And what happened there?
Is eliminate some red tape and focus on the people.
All right, hold on. NB, hold on. I want you to think about something. Say FEMA wants to go out and try to start rescuing people stranded on their roofs, okay? But there's no decent boats available right now. So they decide. So as a quick fix, they decide to repair some old boats to get out there because old boats are better than no boats, right?
Is that rhetorical?
No, I'm asking you, like, legitimately, like using a quick repair on an old boat to get it floating is better than not having any boat to rescue these people, right?
Yes, because you have the Cajun Navy already going up there.
All right, so you do some quick fixes, get a boat float, and you go out and rescue 10 families. On the way back, that boat sinks, killing all 10 families.
Man, why do you like to do these hyperbolics?
It's not hyperbolics because it actually happened during the Japanese tsunami.
Okay,
people were using their personal boats to try to rescue people that had been stranded or unable to be gotten to, and dozens of people died because these people weren't trained professionals and they were using substandard equipment.
Okay, what about well, I can't help that somebody's not trained in something.
And I'll even give you a example where it succeeded mostly. The rescue at Dunkirk, okay?
Yeah,
let's take that.
I'm going to bring that up.
Now, that was considered a massive success, despite the fact that several of those civilian boats broke down mid-journey and had to be rescued themselves, making the thing take even longer, and more people also died because of it.
Okay,
so yes, that's considered a success.
Because people stepped up. See,
yes, but I'm also saying, because it was a civilian thing, people still died. Now we let it slide because that was war.
Risk their lives to save others. That's what we're supposed to do. We don't need to worry about the red tape and the bureaucracy of it. And
if someone is safely trapped on their roof, yes, they're trapped on their roof. Yes, they might be starving, but as of right now, they are safe and they are okay. Putting them in a situation that will lead to their death is not going to help them.
Mike, you're talking about a risk assessment.
Exactly. And do you want the government doing that?
I want the government doing their goddamn job and not sending it over to
the government's job is to plan it out before it happens, not react to it.
Government's job
but if they don't have the resources to do that,
there needs to be those resources. Look, I did ADPE. I was a military guy in the military. I was the fucking shit. Do you have any idea how much waste and abuse I saw every year with the military? Trust me, we had the fucking money.
I am a vendor at Walmart. Do you understand how much waste and abuse I see?
Yeah, but there's a difference between corporatism and the military because, oh Lord, yeah, I know it's ridiculous. All that shit wasted. I mean, yeah, I know you're a distributor. That's why we get along so well, because I was an inventorier as well as an IT guy, and you and I both have amazing attention to detail. So yeah, we recognize fraud, waste, and abuse when we see it.
I mean, heck, I'll give you an example of wasteful quick fixes at one of my stores. When we had the really bad rains of was it last year or the year before that, one of the manager was really worried about the new parking lot because they had just repaved and spent thousands of dollars getting the parking lot repaired. So they wanted to put up sandbags to funnel the water off to the side down the storm drains so that the parking lot would be saved. Except when the storm drains filled up, they just followed the sandbags around the parking lot and into the store's back room. Destroying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of merchandise during a natural disaster.
Well, I'm not even going to just say it's a failure in the government. It's a bit, yeah, Darren. I've heard horror stories about that from the squid and bubbleheads. Yeah, I remember seeing that. I was like, when I worked in food service, and I'd be like, why are we dumping all this perfectly good food out? Like, well, we can't give it away. So we had to throw it away. I was like, this is such a fucking waste. I mean, it's perfectly good food. Why are we throwing it away where we could just, I didn't even think about that. But it was because it's illegal. It's illegal to give that food away. I was like, fucking A. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, when it comes to the government, especially when it comes to the logistics of the military, some of it can be damn impressive. There was a story I heard from one of my military buddies. He was stationed in Egypt, and during that time, they were doing maneuvers with the Egyptian military. And at one point, they invited a lot of the people who worked or who they were doing maneuvers with to their base to eat chicken sandwiches, because the base was overstocked with chicken sandwiches, despite the fact that, they're in frickin' Egypt and they were being delivered from the United States, because the people they were doing the maneuvers with, the Egyptian military, didn't have enough food to feed everybody. And they're like, look, we're about to throw a bunch of...
And why do you think we spend so much money on our defense department? Because we're the world's fucking police and military. I don't like it any more than anybody else does. Look, I'm the conservative here. I'm the guy who fucking flat out says openly, I fucking hate Bush too for putting us in Iraq just so he could give his daddy Saddam.
Hey, I flipped him off when he flew over Katrina.
Oh yeah, he fucked that one up big time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know that it's kind of political to make fun of Biden for not being there on site for the disaster, but I don't want my fucking politicians on site for the disaster. I want them coordinating, trying to make everything better.
That's what he is in the White House for. That's what he was doing.
Well, I guess it's different for me. You kind of want to see your leaders do. It's the optics that matter. You want to see your leaders on.
No, that is politics 101, and I don't like it.
Yeah, because
I want them to do their job.
Yeah, I want to say something. MB. Hang on. Hey, I want to say something. I agree with Mike because a politician should not be at a disaster site because they're not doing anything except spouting words. If a politician wants to help a disaster, be on the phone or video call with the governor or the leaders of that state. Any politician that goes to disaster is for photo op and sound bites. If the president, if Biden was there right now, I would be upset. I'm like, no, get on the phone. Stop hounding to the media. I'm like, I don't know why Trump is there. He has no authoritarianism. He has no way to help the people. It's sound bites. If Biden was there, I would say the exact same thing. It's sound bites. Get on the phone and do something.
Not only that, though, it's also the added security that they have to do when someone's like that around.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, guys, hold on a second. I get all that. I truly get that. But yes, Trump, as you said, Elihu, Trump has no power right now. He's not the president. He's just running as a candidate. So it's about optics. Now, you might disagree with that optic, and I can respect that. I disagree with some of the optics I've seen from the left when I felt some of the things they've done were photo ops and fake. And maybe that's the case. But maybe it's true. I'm not disagreeing with that. How would you think I am? I know what politicians think. I mean,
photo ops are fake.
No, politicians are liars. They're all narcissists.
I'm sorry, I cannot recall the last time the left used a fake photograph, unlike the right is constantly using fake photographs.
We're not going to do that kind of stuff. We're not going to do that kind of stuff. I've been trying to stay mostly apolitical.
Okay, sorry. I was just kind of curious about that statement he made.
No, I just wanted to. But like I said, this all
think of it this way, NB. If you were in the military, would you want a 4-star general on the front lines leading us into the battle? Or do you want him to be behind the lines, planning everything out, doing the logistics, making sure that people are being taken care of, that people are fed, that people have the ammunition they need? Or do you want to see them on the front lines looking all heroic?
Yes.
You can't have both.
No, I can't have both.
No, you can't. That's the whole point.
No, I can't have both, and I've had both. So, yes, I can. Okay, I know my history, and I know what leadership looks like. Yes, what is a 4-star general going to do? It depends on what you mean by the front lines. I
mean, gun in hand, busting down doors.
Huh?
I mean, gun in hand, busting down doors, shooting the enemy.
No, of course not. They don't do that.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that, Darren. I'm being a little facetious with my reasoning here, but it's to show a point.
Well, it's not really a good point because each branch is different in the mentality of how we view leadership. Okay, when I was in Airman Leadership School and they tried to talk about the different branches of the military, me being the guy from the Marine Corps and serving the Department of the Navy, I just kept looking at them and my nonverbals were screaming. They were like, okay, Airman Reed, do you want to explain this? I'm like, yes, please let me explain this. And because they were trying to explain about how a beach line front would happen. And I'm like, everything you're saying is wrong. Because I'm like, I know exactly how we're going to invade an area depending on the situation and what the branches are going to do because I worked with many of them. So, yeah, I know the different cultures. It's like with Darren. I know his culture is different. He's not just a squid. He's a bubblehead. And bubbleheads have a different culture than just being a squid. I think Darren,
the way I look at, I want the people in charge to be the type of people that are what their job is to make sure that the people out on the field are managed as best as possible. It's their job behind the lines to put the people in place that they need to be in that time. That's
that has changed in military practices because in the past generals fought beside their soldiers. Now they just sit back and just delegate everything. Well, military tactics have changed.
The comparison I was going to make was the certain big box company. Hold on, the comparison I wanted to make was with a certain big box company that I'm have to deal with on a daily basis. The higher ups get paid a shit ton of money to fuck up royally. They continuously fuck up. They put people in charge that fuck up. And the people on the front lines are the ones that suffer because of it.
Yeah, that's kind of how the military can work at times, only on a much egregious scale, because we don't get to quit.
But a real leader is the type of person that's going to be able to assess the skills that he has in the people below him and put those people to use in the best possible ways.
A real leader. Okay. Would you agree with me, Mike? There is a difference between a leader and a manager.
Yeah, manager
Yes and
delegates,
no.
leaders in charge.
Bingo.
No, I would say that in certain circumstances they could be synonymous, but not in necessarily every situation.
I'm gonna tell you what, when I was in charge of a department and I had 25 people, 25 personalities, civilian contractors, GS workers, young military green airmen. And I had to learn how to be a leader to all of them while also staying true to myself. If I was just the manager, I would have delegated and let everybody do whatever they wanted. As a leader, I allowed people to do what they were capable of doing. I encouraged people. And when things were an issue, I handled them. Managers don't necessarily do that. They tend to take the quick, easy out. I don't know how to take the quick, easy out. I'm not able to do it. I can't take the easy out. I gotta be that stubborn bastard. I'm just school of hard knocks, buddy. I gotta fight until I know there's nowhere else I can go.
I don't know where to go on from here, but
Seen any good movies? I saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
I've seen that about 9 times already.
I saw
love
the first 3 episodes of the Agatha Harkness thing.
Have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet, Mike?
Oh, me and Mrs. Vile watched it the weekend it came out.
Okay, well, my son wanted to watch it, and my wife told me it was leaving the theaters very soon. So I decided to do my IT skill and check and see if it was streaming, and it was on Amazon to buy or rent, and I was like, I'll just buy it. Fuck it. So we did that. Went to Dollar General, got some popcorn. I got a few beers. We cooked up a pizza, and we watched the movie. And I got to tell you, man, the cameos we got were okay, folks. Spoilers. We're going to talk about cameos. Blade. How the hell did they get Wesley Snipes when that was New Line Cinema?
Ryan asked because Sony lost the rights to Fox, and Fox went under. Basically, Ryan's like, "Hey Wesley, we're friends now. You want to make a cameo?"
I just love it. No, it was so funny because I was watching that scene where he goes, "I don't like you." He goes, "You never had," and it took me.
That was not a joke. I love that.
It took me a minute. To remember that he's referring to Blade Trinity. And exactly. Once I got that reference, once I figured out that reference, I was like, oh my God, because I remember all the backstory that happened with that. And it was like, I had just forgotten it because, Blade Trinity came out so long ago, but I'm just like, you just brought that up.
Did you get the Daredevil Electra joke?
I don't think so. Did I?
Oh, she says, well, Daredevil's like, he's like, sorry about that. She's like, oh, that's okay, because they used to be married.
Yeah.
That little meta joke as well. It's like, oh, that's okay.
No, I loved when he was like, there's 4 of us. Oh, please let it be Magneto. Magneto's dead.
Fuck!
But
there's only been one blade. There's only ever going to be one blade.
Seriously, bringing X-23 in from Logan, that was just the cherry on top for me because I've been like, I would be happy to watch her play a female Wolverine. Absolutely, from Logan. I'm like, she is just badass.
Okay, be
Well,
honest.
unfortunately for
Did
me,
you? Sorry.
X-23 was the only cameo character that was spoiled for me. Everyone else was a surprise for me. Johnny Storm, Blade, Gambit, Daredevil, or Elektra. Everyone else was a surprise for me. But X-23 was the only one that because of a stupid headline article on my news feed, that I'm like, God damn it.
I know.
NB, be honest. Did you have to turn on closed captioning when Tatum come on screen?
Yes, I did, and now I want you know.
Can you read French Creole? I couldn't understand it. The English was French
No,
Creole.
I
I'm like,
cannot
what the hell was
understand.
this?
No, I can't understand French Creole. What do you?
Yeah, it wasn't English. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Thanks for the closed caption, but I can't read this. This is not English.
No, I was like literally after I saw Channing Tatum as Gambit, because I remember they were talking about the movie, and I thought, oh, this is stupid. Now I'm like, why are you watching the movie? All right, I gotta load you real quick. I'll be right back. We can continue talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, we can talk about it when he gets back.
I want Ryan to release
hold on, Elihu. How many episodes of the Agatha show have come out so far?
3.
Okay, so I am caught up. Because I'm watching this and I'm how do I say it? I'm kind of concerned.
The song was supposed to be in the episode.
No. It's not that I'm concerned about. It's the lack of continuity with the other Marvel properties. And I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing with this show.
Are you talking about the Green Witch because of her back origin?
Well, I don't think they've gone into that yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
other than the God, what's her name? Who was in that '70s show? The mom
Mrs.
character.
Hart.
Yes,
Sharon,
but I can't remember her actress's name.
Her character's not
other
done.
than her, they're not really referencing everything too much. I mean, they kind of did a little bit in the first episode for WandaVision, but that's because they kind of had to. But it's one of the things I've always liked about the Marvel series is the interconnectedness. Now, granted, Werewolf by Night did not do that, and it did very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it as well. But I don't know if this is going to work as well, considering magic is kind of the whole Doctor Strange thing.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
And then magic became Wanda's thing, and then it became Agatha's thing.
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night was freaking awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, at least they got Man-Thing right from the comics.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who would have thought they'd get that finally right?
Oh.
Well, as I said, my concern, NB, was the new Agatha show doesn't seem to be really connected with the rest of Marvel, similar to Werewolf by Night. And I wonder if it's because of the way things have been going. They're intentionally cutting these connections so they can rule things as not canon if it doesn't do well.
You mean like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., how, the first 2 seasons were very interconnected with the movies, and plot points that happened in the movies were very important to the show, but after a while, they just stopped doing that, and it's when
Gravitron came on, and it's when Gravitron came on and mentioned to Cole, like, can I just go take out Thanos? Like, no, Avengers have that. That's when it broke off.
I didn't actually watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
I don't know when I stopped watching, but I stopped watching at one point.
No, sorry, not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter. I did watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while. I just thought it felt, and originally I thought the storyline was good, but it just kind of felt like they were just the B team, the JV team. They were just picking up where the movies were going off, and it got boring for me. As far as Agatha, I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it. I don't know the characters or the storyline, so I see no interest in me watching it.
I just want to tell you, Catherine's nude scene was not the director's idea. It was her idea to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was actually rather shocked. I mean,
I thought it was funny. I was like, she's right. It would be funny, and it was funny.
I thought when Electra Nachos, Jennifer Garner showed up, I was like, what the fuck? And then
you're still talking about Deadpool. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Agatha.
Yeah. And then and then Blade shows up, and I'm just like, oh my god. But they did those characters very well. I thought the Johnny Storm thing was just hilarious. He's like, oh, he's gonna say Avengers, and he goes Flame on. I was like, oh shit, he's Johnny Storm.
And yeah, Darren, I definitely agree that the Deadpool Wolverine was a good send off for the Fox franchises. It was nice of Marvel, at least Disney, to acknowledge all of them and give them some proper endings. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the Elektra film. I thought it was kind of dumb, but I still owned it. But one of the lines I always thought that I didn't really like from the Blade character was Wesley Snipes saying, he's the only Blade.
There's only one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
And I'm like, excuse me, on my DVD box set of the Blade movies, it includes the Blade season where you were replaced by another guy. And I remember Blade from the Spider-Man animated film or the animated series.
No, he was saying he's going to be the only Blade because, come on, that series was garbage. The anime was okay. But what I loved about it was he said my favorite line is like, every time I'm asked about a vampire movie, I pull up the Blade line. Some motherfuckers always want to ice skate uphill. And then he pulls a line out where he's like, some motherfuckers still want to ice skate uphill.
Still trying to ice skate uphill.
But I always think that line is so goddamn stupid, but it does kind of work.
No, I was waiting for him after he got shot. I was waiting for him. The only thing I was waiting for him to say after that was when he gets shot, motherfucker, you out your damn mind. I mean, that's the only thing I wanted him to say afterwards was, motherfucker, you out your... But when he said, yes, I know the line is so stupid. I don't care. I love it. Because it's Wesley Snipes saying it in a situation that is just funny.
Chris would only agree to be to play Johnny Storm if he said, if I can say this in the movie, that in the end script, I will do this movie. He wanted to cuss and swear so bad.
That makes sense in context. I mean, and let's face it, there was still a lot of connections though to the Marvel series. I mean, the whole TVA, the whole Eliath, that's all Loki, and so yeah,
season 1, episode 4.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you don't have to watch those shows to enjoy this movie, and that's.
I didn't say you had to.
No, you don't. You really didn't.
But like I was saying with the Agatha Harkness show, Deadpool revels in its connections to the past Marvel films and even the Fox films. Whereas the Agatha series does the exact opposite, and I'm worried that it's because they're going to end up saying this side. But I think that eventually they're going to, if they take more the Marvel MCU into a different direction, they'll say stuff like the Werewolf by Night is not canon. They'll say that Agatha Harkness isn't canon. They can't really do that with WandaVision. They can't really do that with because of the Doctor Strange stuff. They can't. They might be able to do it with Loki because they didn't really connect Loki as much as they did with other series, especially now that they've cut the whole what's his name? Kane, not Kane. Kang.
King the Conqueror.
Mike,
Yeah.
Agatha is connected to the Marvel universe. It's just her story.
No, all I'm saying
They
is
explained it as connected in the first episode, but it's just her story now.
Yes, but I'm saying that the connections are so loose. And how you doing, Darren?
And people
That
complain when they
I-
mention
I'm
connected. It's called
thinking
member
that
berries.
if things go the way I'm just worried that things will be deemed not canon anymore.
I was wondering if they were going kind of the story arc that happened some years ago where they had the main universe and the ultimate universe. And this was after I had kind of gotten out, and that was back in 11. And they kind of collided and did the Infinity Crisis thing and brought everything together. I don't know if that's the plan they're going with. I would be very
Secret
nervous.
Wars.
Yeah, I would be. Well, Secret Wars would have been nice, but this whole they brought Robert Downey Jr. back for playing Doctor Doom. Are we getting? And I know Doctor Doom was Iron Man for a while. I know the storyline that happened when everything was connecting together. My key thing is though when I think about the Fantastic Four, and I'm all for Robert Downey Jr. doing Doctor Doom, but goddamn, he better have that fucking mask on almost the whole time.
The thing that gets me is that authentically Doctor Doom has a face that's so scarred. Even if you did take his mask off, it's doubtful that anybody would recognize Robert Downey Jr. Depending on how severe that the makeup and the burns are. So there's a way they can have him in there without it. People going, hey Tony, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Well,
Well,
Darren, what's your opinion on the Agatha Harkness if you've even watched it? Because when I'm looking at this and the timing of it, I'm wondering if they're going to connect it back to Fantastic Four with her character.
I have no interest in Agatha Harkness whatsoever. The character doesn't resemble the character from the comics in any way. I mean, it's just that's their own creation with just using her name, and I wasn't impressed with her at all from WandaVision. So I thought she was the weakest part of WandaVision. So I didn't watch it.
Spider-Man. Peter Parker doesn't look like Peter Parker in the comics. What's the point? Just because they don't look exactly like they do in the comics.
Well, because there's already a bunch of different versions of Peter Parker throughout the years. Agatha Harkness has basically been a single type character for her entire run. That's part of the difference.
Yeah, she's basically if you can imagine Aunt May's twin sister, but with pointier eyebrows. That's basically what she was in the comics, and she was just like a retired witch that was teaching Wanda Maximoff a couple of tricks to use when her mutant power would fail her. That was basically the whole idea. And
I'm sorry, I remember her mostly as the nanny of Franklin and Valeria.
Yeah, later on she was the nanny, but for a brief time. But I mean, that was it. So.
Oh, because that's all I remember from her from the comics was her being Franklin and Valeria's nanny. I didn't even realize he had that much involved before that.
Now, she was most heavily associated with the Scarlet Witch when she was a member of the Avengers after she left the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, because they weren't sure what to do with the character. They were actually thinking about redefining her and getting her away from the whole mutant group. The whole mutant idea and trying to establish her as an actual witch, but then different creative teams come on board, things change and such. But that was her purpose initially. She's never been a main character. She's always been like she's a lot like Alfred Pennyworth or
what about the House of M?
It would often been like Alfred Pennyworth or Willie Lumpkin, the Fantastic Four's mailman and stuff like that. She's that level, right? Whereas and then because there's so little of her available, they grabbed the Agatha Harkness name and just created the character they wanted, and I have no interest in it at all.
Guess you didn't read House
Well,
of
it's not
M.
like it's not like comic book companies haven't been doing that for years. I mean,
Right.
you like Alfred Pennyworth example you gave. They literally had an Alfred Pennyworth TV show for a while.
Okay,
Right.
Mike, you need to understand something here. It's one thing to change a character up from the comics to the movies as long as the core of the character stays the same. The three people who played Spider-Man have all played him in a different way, but
You're breaking up on me. I don't know if it's just me on my end or if it's your end.
Might be the parrots.
I just heard a large car go by.
Yeah, I did too.
No, that wasn't here.
Well,
But the parrots are still chirping around.
Well, what I'm saying is the three guys, who played, Spider-Man over the last 20 years. I mean, each one of them did their own interpretation, but still, at the core, he was still Spider-Man. And we all recognize that Hugh Jackman was way too fucking tall to be playing Wolverine, because Wolverine is a very short person. He's like 5'4". That's the whole point. But Hugh Jackman played the core of the character so well, we let that go. The point
Eventually.
the point of the matter is, when you actually see the core and your characters represented, it makes it easier to let those little things go. They're just fun nitpicks. I mean, it's like the old days when we nitpick Star Trek and Star Wars.
Well, to go back a little bit, like similar to Darren, I complained when they completely revamped the Leslie Tompkins character from Batman in the Gotham series. But to be honest, without being a huge fan who knows everything about her, there wasn't much to begin with for the average person.
The
Same
whole
with
point of Gotham.
The
whole point of Gotham was to take minor characters and elevate them to main character status for their own version of Gotham before Batman, emerges. So, again, I didn't watch. I watched the first season of Gotham, and that was it. That wasn't my cup of tea either. I just don't care for it when they do that.
Now,
I'm not saying I'm not saying these shows don't have the right to exist or anything like that. I'm just saying that in order to get my attention, there has to be enough familiarity there.
Yeah, that was one of the things I had with trying to watch Gotham. I was just like, no, I get you're trying to do a Smallville thing, but it doesn't work for Batman. It just doesn't work like that.
I like the Fish Mooney character.
Oh,
Mooney character was great.
I like,
I
except
that a lot.
That first season or the first two seasons, I liked her character. After a while, I was just like, why have they not killed this person off yet?
Well, Leslie Thompson, as Darren was pointing out, is kind of like Jim Gordon. They're minor characters, but they are a part of the Batman family, whether they realize it or not. Because Gordon and Leslie Thompson, he trusts them. And there's very few people he trusts. I mean, very few. I mean, the person he trusts the most is Alfred. And the person he respects the most is Alfred.
Yeah, this is Alfred. I work for him.
Well, I did not bring it up when I reviewed the Batman Long Halloween, but in the comic book, you find out that there's a close associate of Batman that betrays him. And the character in the comic that betrayed him is his freaking mechanic, who I can't even remember the name of. Darren, can you remind me?
Oh, I remember this.
What's that?
The mechanic who worked on the Batmobile for Batman in the comic books. It's kind of like a hunchback. Yeah. His name, Hugo, maybe, I don't remember. But I was hoping you would remember his name because I forgot it. But I'm just
I forgot it too. I've read it, and I've watched it several times. even after
in the comic book, I was like, who the hell is this guy? I don't even remember him. And he was even that twist reveal that was so important in the comic book was left out entirely of the animated adaptation because no one cared about the character.
Yeah, there was a point in the 70s where they started adding more supporting characters to entourages. For example, Cat Grant, I believe she was added in the late 70s, early 80s. And that was an interesting thing because when Superman debuted, it was considered outlandish that a woman would be working as a reporter, but by the 1970s, it was outlandish that she was the only woman working at the Daily Planet. So they had to create another female character in the newsroom, and so that was where she came from.
Where Grant came from.
Yeah.
And you had was in at least the first season of Lois and Clark.
Yeah. I think that was the first live action of her. But the and what she was a gossip columnist. She was everything that Lois Lane wasn't. She reported on rumor and speculation and all the stuff that women want to report on, as opposed to Lois, who was more interested in the truth and stuff like that. So she was a great foil for Lois. But that was also in the 70s when they introduced Lucius Fox, the guy who does the day-to-day operations at Wayne Enterprises, so that Bruce doesn't have to do that. Kind of a necessary
Lucius
character.
was such a great character when they introduced him.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, one of the things about DC they were able to do, at least with Superman and Batman, was create, even the non-superhero characters and people like Cat Grant,
Steel, Batwing.
Yeah, but I mean, they were able to make these characters important even if they weren't superheroes, and you cared about them. I mean, that was the power of writing back then. Back when we had writers, not activists.
I'm debating whether or not to try to get Frank Miller's autograph next month.
What do you mean you're arguing about it? Just give him your money.
It's debating between getting an autograph from him or Dr. Dolph Lundgren.
Oh,
I've met Dolph Lundgren a couple of times.
Know.
I don't have anything signed by him, but he's an interesting guy. Both times I talked to him, he told me the same story about losing hearing in his right ear. Apparently, that's one of his favorite stories to tell at conventions.
Eli, why can't you get both? I mean, come on. What is it, a 3-day event?
Yeah, I can only afford 1 day, and Dolph's autograph's like $60, and Frank's probably like $75.
Okay, fine. What? Send me your Cash App information. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'll pay for it. Just send me pictures.
Well, speaking of signed convention stuff, I might be having a bunch of it appear on the eBay store soon because a friend of mine is closing his eBay store down and wants to sell it on my store because he just doesn't want to deal with it anymore. So you might be finding a bunch of stuff in the last 10 years signed at various conventions all over the country.
It's not the same thing as getting it autographed when you're there.
Yourself, I know. I'm like, that's nice, but I want to meet the guy in person. Get the outside, man. Come on.
Getting to meet Bill Shatner, just for the few seconds I did to get to tell him how much my grandmother loved him and he was her captain and all that, his signing, and I got the nice picture and everything, and
good God, man.
What?
How come every time I get on here with you, you start talking so slow? I've got a clip ready to go. I got a clip ready to go for this. Okay. Go ahead and share the clip that all right. This is going to be very brief, but this is exactly what I'm thinking every time I get on here and he starts talking slow.
Sit down, sir. Why are you talking so slow to me like you think I'm going to buy all this freaking dramatic crap? You better start sounding off with some freaking volume.
Well, Darren, I could actually answer that question very easily. Everybody tells me I talk too loud. Mm-hmm. I've heard that my entire life. Oh, I have a question for you guys. I was watching a little bit of Star Trek Picard Season 3, and, they brought up the thing about the Dominion War, and one thing about DS9 was the morality of what they were doing. And I started to think, what do you guys think about the fact that the Federation used both chemical and biological warfare in the Dominion War?
I think that's why they used Section 31 to do it, because it is morally reprehensible.
But was it morally right?
Well, it ended the war, didn't it? I mean, how many lives did they save by infecting 2 changelings, right?
And that's why
both of whom survived.
Well, Darren, that's the moral ambiguity that was perfect for Deep Space Nine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
because with Deep Space Nine, we weren't dealing with just Starfleet anymore. We were dealing with all kinds of other organizations and races and belief systems and things. And so, yeah, that's correct.
And as someone who, hold on, Emmy, as someone who always agrees, not always, but often agrees with Lore Reloaded when it comes to the fake golden age of Starfleet, the pre-TNG type stuff and early TNG stuff. It's great that we can argue from the high horse, but how do I put it? Yes, it worked, but it shouldn't have.
Right. One of the things
all right.
Hold on a second there. One of the things why I love the movie, the episode In the Pale Moonlight, and it's my favorite episode, is what they had to do to get the Romulans into the war. And I mean, he's like, people are dying, and I'm worried about the higher, worrying about morality when people are dying. Right. I mean, it really brought in the level of moral and ethical questions of how far do you go in war? And this is the thing, Darren and I know this very well. Cisco could do things Picard could not do because Picard was from a totally different generation of the Federation. If Cisco had been on the Enterprise, he'd have put that virus in Q and been done with it.
Okay, well, here's something I'll try to compare it to, and I know MB hates these hyperbolic and non-comparisons, but they only infected 2 changelings, like we only dropped 2 atomic bombs. Right. The major difference between those two, in my mind, that we can argue about as fans, as nerds, and the moral implications of, is after World War II, we helped Japan rebuild as much as possible, and now they're one of our strongest allies in the region. Whereas in the Dominion War, it wasn't the Federation that did the cure, per se. Yes, Bashir got the cure from killing Sloan, but it was Odo, a Bajoran officer, technically, who actually cured the Dominion and brought them to the table by giving them the cure.
Yep.
So it was, the Federation was wrong to do that. They were, Section 31 was wrong, but not giving them the cure was probably the greatest crime of the Federation at the time.
Right.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. But one of the things also that's been brought up about when it comes to when we dropped the 2 atomics on World War II on Japan, was why were we even building them? Because we thought we were going to have to use them against Germany because they were already ahead of us. And we needed to level the playing field because we're fighting on two fronts. And we had learned that the Japanese culture was like nothing we had ever fought in a war before. These people, if you've ever seen Hacksaw Ridge or any movie that deals or anything that deals with the Pacific Island attacks, you understand these people were very different than the Germans, the Italians, everybody. This was a different war. We didn't know even how to fight. And when it came down to it, the choice was we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, asked them to surrender. His leadership and the emperor refused, and we had to drop the second bomb. And a lot of his leadership committed what's it called? Sabuki?
Harikiri.
Seppuku.
Yeah, they basically unaligned themselves because to them that was more honorable than surrender. So when you have a culture that you're like, I'm going to kill a lot of people and a lot of our people are going to die, it's like, what do you do? So you have to ask yourself, was it morally right? When I think about that, I think about the Crimson Tide movie. And, between Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington, when they talk about nuking Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Guys, we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to do it, but it was the closest way to end the war. And we wouldn't have bombed Nagasaki if they had just surrendered, but they didn't. And it was like, okay, Fat Boy didn't work. We're going to take Little Man.
Well, one of the things I remember reading about that was kind of fun, and not funny, but interesting. I'll use that word. After we dropped the first bomb, because of the scientists who worked in Japan and with their communication with Germany at the time, because Germany was working with trying to make a bomb as well, they didn't think it was possible for the U.S. to have created more than one. So when we were able to drop a second bomb using plutonium instead of uranium, they realized that we were much further along than we actually were, because we had literally only had enough to create the two bombs, one out of plutonium, one out of uranium, because the two different enrichment programs. And it was just like, bet you can't do that again. We did it again. If they had said, bet you can't do it a third time, we would have been screwed.
Damage was already done, though. I mean,
yes,
there was also the fact that Russia was on the move and was now moving towards that part of the world as well. So they were facing a attack on from us from the Pacific, but also from Greater Asia. The Russians were starting to mobilize and move across the country. So there was a lot more than just us bombing them into submission at play here. But as far as Star Trek goes, the Section 31 was one of those ideas, I think, that only existed to enhance the morality of regular Starfleet. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
This idea, and this is why Secret Hideout's attempts at utilizing Section 31 as a main stage player has never been an interest to me, because that wasn't what their purpose was when they were created.
Now, one thing about Section 31 I understood, and maybe it's just all my years in the military and everything, is I understand we have shadow organizations, but it was interesting how Cisco got shocked that when he asked about Section 31 and he called the Federation, was like, we'll get back to you.
Right. Yeah, they didn't even officially exist. And it was clear in dialogue that most of Starfleet personnel had no idea there was this organization existed. There weren't buildings with the word Section 31 on the side of them or anything like there were in the JJ films. It was, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of later production companies that try to incorporate the Section 31 idea into their fiction aren't getting, is that it was a almost like an Illuminati cabal. It was a secret society within Starfleet Intelligence. Not everybody in Starfleet Intelligence was in Section 31, presumably, but they were there and they were influential. So,
one of the books did a really cool thing when it came to Section 31, in my mind, where basically they are like a ship is contacting Section 31. A Section 31 ship comes out. They even make the line along the lines of, I didn't know Section 31 had dedicated ships. And when they go to leave, or when the Section 31 ship goes to leave, it actually it turns out it's just a giant hologram. That all the crew members, all the consoles, everything was a hologram being produced by a holographic generator. So when the ship goes bye-bye, the entire thing goes bye-bye and never existed. And they're like, well, who the hell were we really talking to then?
Right.
One thing about
31 had some really interesting tech. On Deep Space Nine, they could beam on and off the station with impunity, and they couldn't see where they were beaming to or from. We don't know if they had long range transporters or if there was a ship nearby that they were beaming to or whatnot. So they had that. They had what was it, other things as well. I think their holodecks were more sophisticated as well.
And I think that's where the book got the idea from about the holodecks too.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things about Section 31 was they were even more shadier than the Tal Shiar or the Obsidian Order.
I don't know about that, but because we didn't expect that from the human organization, I think that they seemed that way.
That's why I'm saying it. We knew about the Tal Shiar, we knew about the Obsidian Order between the Romulans and the Cardassians and those organizations, but they were basically like the CIA of our. But I was watching this episode of Castle because I remember watching it, and Lyle Lovick was playing the shadowy agent. And Beckett asks, he goes, "Oh, what agency did you say you work for?" And he's like, "I didn't."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they were. They were very shadowy. It's very shocking for probably the Federation to realize there's a shadowy organization. But the reality is somebody's got to do the dirty work.
Wasn't that the whole point of the CIA?
Well, CIA is a little bit different because we know that there's a CIA. Everybody's heard of the CIA, but nobody on Deep Space Nine had ever heard of Section 31. That was part of the mystique. They didn't officially exist. They were much more Nix level than an FBI or a CIA or a GRU or whatever. It's
sorry, I've been muting myself because the parrots are getting worse. Sorry.
Nah, the whole thing
it's getting hot. That's why.
Shadowy. No, you have like the DIA, the FBI, the CIA. We have all these 3-letter branches, but we know about them. This, when you have a shadow organization,
that's what Section 31 was supposed to be. Was that a counterpoint to Starfleet Intelligence? Starfleet Intelligence is the CIA. Section 31 is that which we don't know about because we don't. It's not on the news every day.
I would agree.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny too because in the Pale Moonlight, somebody mentioned earlier, that's one of these episodes that hardcore lefties just hated when it came out. Peter David, who's a writer of comic books and Star Trek novels, he when that show aired, he immediately wrote a book following up, after, basically, and I think it became a book after that was set after the Dominion War ended, where the Romulans discover the deception that got them involved in the war, and
I don't think Garrick would have fucked up that bad.
Yeah, but I mean, it was all basically fanfic, on Peter David's part to try to get, Sisko's name tarnished. This guy should.
Yeah, but it was really fucked up because, when he goes in there and he confronts Garrick and he goes, "You killed him." Yes.
Yeah.
But he says, "That's why you came to me, because you knew I could do the things you couldn't do. And all it cost you was one senator, the life of one senator, the life of a criminal, and the self-respect of a Starfleet officer to win a war. I think you've gotten a bargain." And I mean, you and I both know what the cost of war entails.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the point I was making was that the whole idea was that Peter David, of course, hated the fact that episode existed and had to write something where comeuppance was gotten, for everybody involved.
Which Peter? I'm a huge Peter David fan when it comes to his Star Trek writing. Which book was this? Because I don't remember it.
I'll have to look it up. It's let me see, Memory Beta.
Because he did a similar thing with the Captain Calhoun character when it came to the Pegasus incident. Because he had after that, how Picard gives the cloaking device back to the Romulans, and he wrote his character as doing a side mission, not realizing he's working for Section 31 to recover that phase cloak from the Romulans. Because, it looks great on paper when we hand it back, but we can't really let them have that technology.
Yeah, that was one of the things that always kind of bothered me about Picard, was he was too by the book. And I'm sorry, I'm military.
I found it. It was a short story that appeared in Star Trek New Frontier. It suggested that the Romulans uncovered Sisko's deception at an unknown point in the future, leading to open warfare between the United Federation of Planets and the Romulan Star Empire. So that was, something that he didn't write a whole book about it, but he made sure that, that the achievement, was undermined.
So you guys are arguing fan fiction. Wow.
No, Star Trek New Frontier was licensed. It is considered beta canon, but it is licensed Star Trek.
No, the opinionation. That's fan fiction. Opinionation is just you guys arguing that. That's why I'm like, wow, okay.
But it was still part of that particular branch of the Starfleet universe or Star Trek universe.
Right. Yeah. But for me, it's poetic. It's poetic that the Romulans, who are known for their deception and their and such, are were deceived into joining the war.
That actually is something that Garrick said. He goes, and they're gonna find in the wreckage Can you
do more than just quote the episode? I mean, come on, we're having a discussion here. Everybody here has seen the episode. We know what was said. And
okay, I'm sorry.
Why are you talking so slow to me?
Darren, do you know if because I can't remember episode placement because I haven't rewatched it in a while. Was in the Pale Moonlight before or after the Section 31 reveal?
I think after.
Let me see here.
I believe it was after the Section 31 reveal.
But the thing about the Pale Moonlight for me and why it makes it's my favorite episode is the argument of how you deal with in war the ethical and morality of things. And I can understand that as somebody who's been in a leadership position, but not a leadership position like Sisko had. I mean, he even used chemical warfare on the Maquis.
Okay. So here's the kicker. Okay, Inquisition was the episode that introduced Section 31. That was season 6, episode 18. In the Pale Moonlight was season 6, episode 19. So they were back to back. You were introduced
really?
Yeah, you were introduced to Section 31, and then the very next one, we have In the Pale Moonlight. So yeah.
Oh, because that would be even more perfect if they were to do like. I could definitely see the admiral or whoever ordered Cisco to do this, basically be not hiring Cisco to work for Section 31 without Cisco realizing it.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's now part of my headcanon. Thank you so much, Darren.
Yeah.
Hey, the episode, that episode, one of the things I really liked about Deep Space Nine was the other characters. Like, they took Knock, and you get to that episode where it's just the paper tiger, and this is after he's had his leg shot off and has a replacement, and is just like,
yeah, we need to take care of our veterans with PTSD episode.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But, despite your that, I actually need to end the stream. I got to deal with some stuff that just popped up. So I'm going to end the stream with a drinking song because I think we need it after this conversation.
More singing, more voices.
Hail the Klingons, hoorah! Ejem tave deja I, ejam sotas gos vaskrar baitik, en pajaj la mojaj puj, jaj keles molon nichok chu u.
All right, you're 19 years old now. I figure it's about time you got one after all your complaining. All right, I gotta go. Later, folks.
Later, weirdos.